Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we are going to be looking at Ethereum. I know I have the Bitcoin chart up here, but we're going to be talking about Ethereum and basically my macro view of the asset, how I'm trading it, how I'm eventually going to um, exit out of my position uh, of Ethereum. This, I think, works for me. It's fairly conservative, especially in comparison to other traders that I know and frequently look at. Um, but I think this works for me, and I'm happy with it. Uh, but let me know in the comments down below what your ideas are, because ultimately, and I want to preface this, that my current my current projection can change. My the way I'm going to be exiting out is how it is right now. That can change into the future. If anything happens significantly, or if I see changes in the macro market, then ultimately that's going to change. But as of right now, this is how I view it. If you do like this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, um, and for the coins that I at least hold, right? I can't really speak at length about an exit strategy for coins that I don't hold, but let me know in the comments down below. Uh, I I cover frequently Ethereum, Bitcoin, um, Chainlink, Uniswap, Basic Attention Token, VeChain, Cardano, but I don't hold any Cardano. So I can speak on coins that I do hold, and I'd love to talk about those, and potentially on how I'm going to be exiting out of the market for those assets. But in this case, it's going to be Ethereum. Remember to hit the like button down below and also consider subscribing. So Ethereum is a fairly old coin. It's been around since 2015. We have a chart with price history up until 2015. So for this one, I am looking at past performance ultimately, and specifically with the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. This is how I'm projecting certain USD prices with Ethereum, and how do I do that? Well, we look at certain price, certain I think potential truisms with the asset and the market as a whole. Number one, the market is maturing. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, if the market is maturing, then ultimately volatility is going to go down. We are not going to see the gains of like what we saw in 2016, where we saw from the bottom to the top a 1,500% move up against Bitcoin, and ultimately from here to here, a 1,800% move against Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to see those levels again. There's a difference between 300%. In my view, from the bottom, so from here to where I have it right now, is about 300% gain against Bitcoin. Now, why do I pick this line here? This line here is my top. It's the top for me. It can definitely go higher. I'm not saying that it won't, but I think zero point zero 0.08 Ethereum, zero point zero 0.08 Bitcoin value per Ethereum is a conservative estimate on what we can accomplish this market cycle. It is, I don't think we're going to go as high as 0.13. I really don't. I think this is, I really think this was, a once in a lifetime opportunity of one Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Uh, but let me get further into it. So, uh, as I said, I think that we are um, in a mature market than we were 3 years ago. I don't think we're going to go as high. If we went that as high as 0.13, that's a 720% move up against Bitcoin. I can definitely see it maybe go up to point one Bitcoin. That's a 500% gain. And because of that, I think a 400% valuation against Bitcoin. I mean, you can even move this to up a little, maybe 0.085 Bitcoin. Why not? With that said, so 0.085 is our top, my theoretical top for Ethereum against Bitcoin. then the next question is, well, how high can Bitcoin go? Because to determine the US dollar value of Ethereum, you find the Bitcoin value equivalent, and then you multiply it by Bitcoin's price. So, for example, the current Ether Bitcoin value is 0.04. You multiply that by $34,754, and you get roughly $1,418. That's how the math works. So, with that said, how high? The second question is, how high do I think Bitcoin will go? Well, I'm a proponent that Bitcoin will go around $100,000. I think that is my target. That target works for me. It can definitely go higher. It can go higher to like $200,000, in which case the Ethereum US dollar value will be a lot higher than what I'm projecting. But for me, that works out for me. Where I bought into the market. Remember, I did not buy Bitcoin at $34,000, and I did not buy Ethereum at $1,400. In fact, I my average buy-in price is around $830, and mind you, that's a considerable amount of that. My fiat to Ethereum value was more so around $400. That was my buy-in price. I sold a lot of my Celsius token back into Ethereum and Bitcoin, which raised the average buy-in price to about $830. So keep that in mind. So yeah, my average buy-in price for Ethereum is 838, but technically it's a lot lower than that. But for this, visualization, I'm keeping it at 838. So um, from 838 to what the US dollar value is going to be of 0.08 Bitcoin, it's considerably high. In fact, it's around $8,000. So again, keep that in mind. Um, an Ethereum Bitcoin value of 0.08 multiplied by a Bitcoin US dollar value of $100,000 brings us to $8,000. So that is my US dollar top right here. Now you may be saying, Stefan, um, the peak of Ethereum Bitcoin did not correspond to the peak uh, of of uh, 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 of Bitcoin's peak, and you'd be correct. Um, that's why I'm using both the Ethereum Bitcoin chart and the US dollar chart. If I see Ethereum Bitcoin peak at 0.08, that's going to be the top or first. Or if Ethereum hits $8,000 first on Ethereum USD hits first at $8,000, that is the top. So again, the top is fluid. My selling strategy is fluid. So I think that the first start on finding out what your exit strategy is and what works for you is finding where is the last price point or roughly that area um, that you are willing to sell at. That you must sell. Like if it hits this, you got to sell everything, kind of mentality. Now, I'm not saying that I'm holding all my Ethereum until 0.08. No, I will be selling along the way up, and I have been selling. In fact, I sold at around 1140 the other a few weeks ago, where I threw a trailing stop and it got triggered. Anyway, so $8,000 is my very top. And we'll use the US dollar chart for simplicity's sake. With that said, I look at $830, and currently I'm up about, like 80, 80 some percent, I think. 70% on Bitcoin, 60% on Ethereum, sorry. So when I increase it all the way up, that's about an 874 gain. My next sell target is going to be about when I make double, when I double my earnings. So around 130 to 100%. I'll keep it at 100, 105 to keep it even. That's my first sell target. Boom. Second sell target is when I triple. So tripling the price, that's about 24.55. Second sell target. I mean, okay, well, keep this in mind. I did do 1040 because Ethereum Bitcoin value was pretty high at the time, and I suspected that Bitcoin might be dropping, so I did do a conservative sell stop there. So you could say one, two, third sell right here at 24.55. Next sell target's about 323. 30, I had it set for 35, but yeah, 3,400 is decent enough. And you know what? I will change the colors of these so it's a little easier to see. There we go. Fourth sell target. Fifth sell target, it's going to be around $5,000. And then ultimately, $8,000 will be the top. Now, uh, that's a lot of sell targets. Yes. Now, what happens when I breach one? Well, I have two options. I have an option of placing a limit order, and selling right when it gets triggered, or if the market's really moving, then I throw in a trailing stop. At the time when I threw my first trailing stop on Ethereum, market was really moving. I thought it was gaining momentum, and I thought the the all-time high for Ethereum will act as decent resistance. So I threw in a trailing stop at 1140. This is ultimately my sell targets. This right here, plain and simple. Um, I projected within the whole market cycle will reach at around $8,000. We can get up to $10,000 for all I know, but anything above $8,000, uh, it's fine for me. I'm okay with $8,000. I really am, and that is the third important thing about having an exit strategy for any asset is that your top that where you have to sell everything, um, you have to be okay with that. And $8,000 is that number for me. For someone else, it could be different. Um, Also, this right here, these are not equal cells. It's not so it's like six cells, so six divided by 100. It's not going to be equated. They're weighted. They are um, the smallest amount to the largest amount. So in the end, I'm selling about a fifth of my Ethereum at $8,000. I think that's how the math works. It's around a fifth of how I mapped it out. This is about a fifth of my Ethereum being sold at $8,000. Um, Now, just like with VeChain. So what happens? So let's say Ethereum rises to about $1,673, and I'm looking to sell, 7% of my position. Well, I'll say, okay, let's look at what Bitcoin's doing. Is Bitcoin moving? Is Bitcoin also trending up? Is Bitcoin as extended as it is right now? Well, if that's the case, then I might be tempted to sell it back into the US dollar. However, I also keep in mind of Ethereum Bitcoin price. Remember, I also have the top set on Ether Bitcoin at 0.08. How far are we up there? Okay, if we're near the top here, then I'm most likely selling it back to Bitcoin. In most cases, I'm selling it to both. With Ethereum, Ethereum is going to be that special coin where I'm going to be selling a portion of my sell of Ethereum at that time into Bitcoin and then some into stable coins. What might change in that is whether if it's a majority of back to stablecoin or majority back into Bitcoin. Ultimately depends on the Ether Bitcoin chart. If we are down here, then it's a majority back into stablecoins. If it's more closer up here, it's going to be a majority back into Bitcoin. Also, it's going to be dependent on where Bitcoin is. Is Bitcoin near $100,000? That's another question. That's a very good question. Is it near $100,000? If that's the case, I don't really want to risk throwing my profits of Ethereum back into Bitcoin only to see Bitcoin peaking shortly thereafter and coming back down. Um, I don't think I think the risk for the reward is not great enough for me to accept to stomach that. So again, comes back into the US dollar. But that's essentially how I'm going to be moving out of Ethereum. Now, this is a fluid situation, right? And how is it fluid? Well, that's where Ether Bitcoin becomes very, very handy, because we might see an instance like we did in 2017 where Ethereum peaked at 0.13 Bitcoin, but then retraced 80%, 81% in a span of a few months. From June to December, it bled, and then it shot right back up. And this price point here on January 2018 is where we saw the $1,400 Ethereum. So also keep that in mind, which is why it's important to, when you're selling back into either stable coins or Bitcoin, to look at where the Ether Bitcoin price is. Is it up here? Then it's probably a very good idea to sell it back into Bitcoin. Is it low? Is it down at 0.02? I'm not saying it's going to go back there, but just for example's sake, is it back at 0.2? Then it's probably a good idea to sell it back into US dollar, because that either means the market is crashing, or um, the market's already crashed. I think if it's back at that level, or the market's crashing, or Ethereum's not doing very, very well, and Bitcoin is the cause of that. Whether that Bitcoin is really moving up, or Bitcoin is really, really moving down. So there's a lot of factors to come into play when for myself when selling Ethereum. It ultimately depends on three charts: Ether USD, Ether BTC, and the Bitcoin USD chart, and also to some degree Bitcoin dominance, where we are in the Bitcoin dominance. But um, and within those three charts, it's all relative. How close are we to the top of the theoretical top for Bitcoin? How close are we from the theoretical top of Ether Bitcoin? And ultimately, where am I in the Ether USD? Are we near the top here? Are we at $5,000 per Ethereum? Then I would argue that if altcoins, in my view, are topping, then to that extent, then I have to reconsider where we are in the market. We might be coming to the end of the market. Also, mind you, this is not going to happen in a month. This I'm a I'm a proponent of longer term cycles. So I really think that this is going to take a hot minute, so to speak, for us to even reach $8,000 Ethereum per Ethereum. This might take a year, 2 years. I think 2 years. Up until the mid of 2022, 2023. Um, so this is a long, arduous process. Yes, we've already gone to my first sell, but we can easily come back down. Easily come back down. And that also depends on Bitcoin. And it's something that I constantly talk about on the channel, that Bitcoin is the mover of the market. It will dictate if altcoins are allowed to move up. Today is a great example. Bitcoin said, no, I'm going to be the one to move. It moves up 8%, and the market stops and watch and starts to bleed. So all those to be kept in mind. And that's pretty much it. Uh, I think for anyone, find out what is a realistic top for you. It doesn't have to be the market top. It shouldn't be the market top. If $8,000 is conservative and the market top is actually 12,000, $12,000 per Ethereum, then I am far gone. I'm already gone at that point. I think the idea is to sell some along the way, and if it comes back down, well, you're left with flexibility. I think this gives you a lot of flexibility. Also, it solves it solves my problem of not knowing where to sell. If I've already set price targets beforehand, then I already know. It's just about, okay, Now the question is, where do I sell it to, right? And I'm not caught flat-footed, and I'm not missing an opportunity to sell. I won't. I'm not necessarily a holder. I learned my lesson back in 2017. Uh, Holding is fine, but I do not want to hold assets, especially these assets, for too long. Um, I would like to take advantage of the boom and bust cycles as much as I can. And I think for me, that works for me. For you, if you're holding Bitcoin for the next 10 years, uh, all the power to you. I don't know why you're watching this video. Or if you're holding Ethereum and you're holding Ethereum for the next 10 years, I don't know why you're watching this video. This is my projection for the current cycle that we're in. This is not foolproof. This might change. And I can give you an example how that might change. If Bitcoin decides to kick the bucket and close below the 20-week moving average, a majority of my Ethereum is gone. It's either going to go back into Bitcoin or into stable coins, and I wait it out. Um, I'm very okay with that. Well, I'm not okay with that, but it's something that I'm willing to do to protect my wealth. Because if it comes back down and closes below the 20-week, well, we've seen what happens when it breaks below the 20-week. It's not a good thing. I do not want to be a part of that. And I'll wait until it comes back up to the 20-week and 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 essentially assess from there. But at this point, we're above the 20-week moving average. Everything's a go. And so because of that, this strategy has not changed for me. If it might change in the future. If Ethereum really starts, say for example, if Ethereum starts really moving up and we're already at $3,400 or $5,000 within the next, you know, 6 months, I think I'll be more inclined to sell. Um, more inclined to sell it more quickly, because I think like quickness on how high we get there that quick, I think also plays into a factor, and that's why our size are also important. I think in these cases, especially with um, longer term time frames. So like with the weekly, we see that Ethereum does hit the high 90s, and currently right now we're at 92. So you can argue that a retracement's on the way, but this is one of the reasons why I sold at 1140. The RSI was getting pretty high. Um, But this is basically the strategy. This works for me. Things that you'll need to have set in place in order for this to work is that you need to be okay to sell at a certain price point, and you need to be okay if it keeps on going up. I think those are the two important things. So like a good example is I sold at 1140 and we're currently back up at $1,400, and I am okay with that. I will just sell more. If it comes up to $1,600, $1,700, well, guess what? I'm selling some more too. I'm not buying back in. I'm not buying back in unless Ethereum really comes back down. I didn't even really buy when it came back to $900. That's not a low enough price for me, and I'm okay for just stomaching that for the short term, and I saw it come back up. So those things need to work. If you sell and then you see it rise again and you buy back in, well, this strategy doesn't really work for you because you're indecisive. You need to be decisive in order for this to work for you. You need to be okay for selling and watching the price go up. And you need to be okay if none of your sells, if say let's say that the top was like $6,500. I didn't get to sell at 8,000, and I'd have to be okay with that. And I would say, you know what? I sold the majority of my Ethereum already. I only have 1/5 at this point. I think I did a pretty good job. So keep that in mind. Um, Definitely, this is not the only trading strategy that works, or people use. Some people try to time the top. Good luck with that. Um, some people just hold for 10 years. Also, good luck with that. It ultimately comes down to what works for you, what you're comfortable with, because you have to be okay with it. Anyway, that's all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.